Formula One is no stranger to mind games, but now, those games might come with real consequences. Red Bull's latest accusation against McLaren has set off a firestorm behind the scenes, and the FIA is stepping in to change the rules of engagement. For years, F1 teams have used the media to plant seeds of doubt, spread suspicion, and throw rivals off their game. But now, that could come at a real cost. Let's break it down. At the heart of this new controversy is a subtle but serious accusation. Red Bull has hinted, without formally accusing, that McLaren may be using an illegal method to cool their tires, specifically involving water cooling. It's not a direct allegation, but it's enough to stir attention. And in Formula One, that's often the point. The accusation hinges on thermal imaging footage that Red Bull reportedly has in their possession. Footage they claim raises questions about the MCL39's tire temperature management. In a sport where tenths of a second can separate winners from midfielders, even a small edge in tire performance can mean everything. But here's the twist. Pirelli, F1's official tire supplier, has already dismissed the idea. They say the method Red Bull is alluding to, pumping water through the valve system, is not just illegal, it's technically unfeasible. You can't push water into sealed, nitrogen-inflated race tires at pressure and expect to get away with it. In other words, the theory doesn't hold water. So why bring it up at all? Because Red Bull, once the undisputed force in F1, is now facing pressure they haven't felt in years. McLaren is surging. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are delivering consistent results. And Red Bull's recent performance? Slipping, mistakes in setup, issues with brake temperatures, unexpected struggles on race day. The aura of invincibility is cracking. When you're no longer miles ahead, you try other tactics, create pressure, sow doubt, distract your competitors just enough to make them look over their shoulder rather than at their telemetry. This isn't new. We've seen Mercedes do it in the past, Ferrari too, but this time, McLaren decided they weren't playing along. Zak Brown responded with a counterattack of his own, one that could reshape how F1 teams conduct themselves off the track. If you're going to accuse someone, do it formally, and be prepared to pay. Brown proposed that any team making an official protest should have the cost of the investigation deducted from their annual budget cap. If the protest is upheld, the money is returned. If not, the team eats the cost. It's the equivalent of saying, put your money where your mouth is. And in a surprise move, FIA President Mohammed Ben Sulayem has endorsed the idea. This is not just symbolic. It's a direct response to the growing pattern of behind-the-scenes accusations, subtle press leaks, and media warfare that's been growing over the past few seasons. But there's more at stake than just ethics. The FIA itself is under pressure. Ben Sulayem's leadership has faced criticism for months. His ability to navigate sensitive political waters has been questioned, and with the FIA presidential election looming, this move could be a power play to win back credibility. Enter a new wildcard. Carlos Sainz Sr., the former rally champion and respected figure in global motorsport. He's reportedly preparing to challenge Ben Sulayem for the presidency and is already winning quiet support from team principals and officials tired of the current regime's unpredictability. So, is this rule proposal about cleaning up the sport? Or about saving face ahead of a political showdown? Maybe it's both. Back to the racetrack. McLaren's performance is raising eyebrows for all the right reasons. They've built a car that is fast, balanced, and most critically, kind to its tires. And that's got Red Bull rattled. After the Miami GP, Christian Horner acknowledged that McLaren had the upper hand, especially in tire performance. They were most competitive at the end of the medium stint, he said. That's where they pulled away. He also admitted that Red Bull was struggling with brake temperature issues, something that made tire management even more difficult. But Red Bull didn't file a formal protest. They didn't take it to the stewards. Instead, they played the narrative game. And that's where Andrea Stella stepped in. The McLaren team principal was having none of it. He publicly criticized what he called Red Bull's attempt to control the storyline and paint themselves as underdogs, even while dominating the sport for the past several years. Red Bull are exceptionally good at engineering, no question, Stella said. But they're also very good at manipulating the narrative. They act like they're performing miracles, when in reality, we're all in the same race. He pointed to data from qualifying and race pace to back up his point. According to Stella, the performance gap isn't massive. It's just that McLaren is executing better. No tricks, no magic, just better understanding of their car and how to extract pace across a race distance. And he's right. From what we've seen so far in 2025, McLaren's package is consistently fast across different circuits. They aren't just beating Red Bull on raw pace, they're managing stints better, especially on medium and soft compounds. That's something Red Bull used to do better than anyone. But now, the pressure is mounting, and that pressure leads to desperation. Red Bull's subtle campaign against McLaren might be just the beginning, because if this trend continues, if McLaren keeps winning and Ferrari stays in the mix, we might see Max Verstappen start asking serious questions about his future. Verstappen has been fiercely loyal to Red Bull, but he also made it clear in past interviews. He wants to win in a competitive car, not drag one across the line. If the RB21 continues to fall behind, and if internal politics become a distraction, Max may start looking elsewhere, maybe even before 2026. And don't forget, 2026 is a massive reset year. New engines, new chassis rules, new opportunities. If Max wants a fresh start, the timing couldn't be better. So where does that leave Red Bull? If this FIA rule is enacted, they'll have to think twice before making strategic accusations. They may have to stop playing the media game and start solving their performance problems. Because the grid is catching up, and the advantage they had for so long, it's fading. McLaren is confident, calm, focused, and if you believe Zach Brown and Andrea Stella, they're just getting started. Meanwhile, Red Bull is scrambling, deflecting, hinting, but not dominating, and that makes for one hell of a season. So what do you think? Should teams be financially penalized for failed protests? Is Red Bull being strategic or just desperate? And could this shift in power signal the end of the Verstappen era at Red Bull? Drop your answers in the comments. Like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this season isn't just being fought on the track. It's a political minefield, and we're just getting started. Click the next video on screen for our breakdown of how McLaren flipped the F1 pecking order in just 12 months.